so today I'm out harvesting potatoes, and I forgot I was going to show you a video of this, so I've got some of it already harvested. But I just thought I'd share a couple things with you. So one thing, we're harvesting actually really late compared to when we normally harvest, and it's because it has been so rainy. And you don't really want to harvest potatoes in the rain because you're not supposed to wash them. That's why when you get potatoes in the store, they're kind of dirty. You wash them when you use them, but you don't want to wash them and store them washed because it makes them rot faster. So we wanted our garden to be as dry as possible as well, and usually we do this as a family one evening and we have it done all in one fell swoop. And because of the rain, it's the middle of the day and the kids are at school, my husband's at work, so I'm going to harvest potatoes. Anyway, so I'm going to show you kind of what we do, and I'll also show you how I store them, what I store them in, and give you some tips about storing potatoes, whether they're homegrown or store-bought potatoes. So I'll show you. Okay, so the first thing about storing potatoes is you need to have something to put them in that's going to breathe. So if you buy them from the store, they come in a bag, but the bag has holes in it usually so the potatoes can breathe. And you want to keep them in something that can breathe a little bit and keep them dry. You don't want them to get wet. So we put ours in, these are these little wooden crates. You can buy them at Michael's, you can buy them at Walmart. They're pretty cheap, they're usually for crafts, but they work well for potatoes. And one of these crates holds about 40 pounds of potatoes, which is really nice. So then we can calculate how many potatoes we got for the year. Anyway, so you want something like this, and like you said, you notice they're dirty still. And these, finally the soil today is a little bit dry, it's still a little bit muddy, so we're breaking off the majority of the big chunks of dirt, but we're leaving, just the regular dirt on them. So you need some sort of container, and like I said, if you're buying them from the store, you can keep them in the bag that they came in, usually, as long as there's holes to keep them a little bit moist. Now I will show you, digging potatoes is my kids' favorite, so they're going to be sad that I'm digging without them, because it's fun, because it's like discovering gold almost. So I'll show you just some picking of potatoes here really quick. So the hardest part for me is not cutting the potatoes. I tend to dig too close to the plant. And you'll notice that they're mounded because here in Alaska we need to mound the potatoes so that they'll get warmth. The soil will stay warmer. But so I kind of start at the base and dig, and you'll see there's a potato already showing. Put that in a box. Then I just kind of try to get under the plant. Right now, like I said, I'm a little bit late, and so the plants are really slimy. They're hard to get a hold of. But if you get the shovel under them, you can kind of get a hold of them. And then just watch the potatoes. And I just leave my potato plants in the garden because then they just leach the nutrients back into the soil. Alright, so here's one box that's over full. I usually fill it up flush with the top of the box because we stack these boxes, so maybe even slightly below that. But I have one that I need to refill a little bit because we've used some. The one thing I wanted to show you is some of these potatoes have green on them, and I don't know if you can see that. Let's see, a little bit of green on them. And you're not supposed to eat green potatoes, but I don't throw these away. I usually just cut out the green part of the potato, and then we eat the rest of the potato. So, I mean, some of them, sometimes I'll get ones that are like really green most of the potato. So those I will actually throw out, but And then the other thing I do is sometimes I cut potatoes accidentally. I keep these. These will dry and they'll be fine. Like I said, we don't wash these. We just let them dry naturally, and then the skins get tough or a little bit tougher, and then we use them like that. Anyway, so these will go in our root cellar, and our root cellar stays about 45 to 50 degrees, and I'll show you that in just a second. And even if you're storing store-bought potatoes, you want to keep them somewhere around 50 degrees if you want to keep them for long term. Short term, you don't necessarily have to, but they will start growing if you don't have them cool enough. Alright, so here is our root cellar. It's built into a hillside. There's a wall, a door, and actually the door is right here. My son this spring ripped the door off the hinges accidentally because it was frozen shut. So we got to replace that before it gets cold and before we can put anything in there. A couple things we have styrofoam because it gets really cold. So this is a really thick, I can't find the light switch here. So hopefully there'll be enough light. Really thick piece of styrofoam. So you can see it's pretty thick. And this goes in the door and then the door gets shut. So the door is insulated, this is insulated, and it keeps it from freezing. So the outside was, what are they called? Railroad ties. But the inside we have lined with, there's visqueen to keep the creosote out, and then the plywood to just line the root cellar. Right now I have stuff for the garden in here. But anyway, it's just a little room for our vegetables. We still have one more box of potatoes from last year in here. And you can see that growing pretty good. But anyway, it's a nice little room. It stays cold and it works well for our vegetables, for our carrots and our potatoes. We can put anything that we want to refrigerate even would work down here in the root cellar. You can see the remnants of my greenhouse that kind of tore apart. We need to get things cleaned up. But anyway, that's our root cellar, and that's how we store our potatoes. We just stack our crates one on top of the other, and then when we need them, we just pull them out. Anyway. Alright, so we just finished picking potatoes, and I want to share with you guys a recipe that I love, that my family loves. So what you're going to need is some potatoes, and I'll tell you about the potatoes here in just a minute, and then a pan that you've greased. I use Crisco, you can use olive oil, whatever, you just need something to keep them from sticking. So always when we pick potatoes, there are these little tiny potatoes, and these you do not want to peel. They're really hard to peel, but they're really good to make smashed potatoes. And I'm not talking mashed potatoes, I'm talking smashed potatoes. And I'll show you what I mean as we go along. But the first step is to wash them, and you don't need to peel them, just wash them really good. And then one thing I was going to show you is this one. Okay, so this potato has a little bit of green on it. I'm not going to worry about that one. This one has quite a bit more, and there was one other one that was a little bit worse. I'm going to debate on these. You're not supposed to eat green potatoes. But the rest of them look good. So the first thing you do, like I said, is wash them, and then we're going to take and we're going to spread them out on our pan. Just spread them out, doesn't matter. And then we're going to poke them because I'm going to put them in the oven. Now normally I would put them in the oven at about 450 degrees or 400 to 450. Right now I have a roast in my oven and it's at 350. So we're going to put them in at 350 and it's going to be okay. So anyway, I'm going to get a knife and then we're going to poke these potatoes. Alright, so I have my knife, I'm going to poke them. And they just need like one or two little pokes just so they don't blow up. I don't know if you've ever had a potato blow up in the oven, but I have, and it's scary. Okay. I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, so if you'll notice I have a couple of different kinds of potatoes here. There's this Yukon Gold colored one, well that's what it is, Yukon Gold, and then just a regular white potato. You can use red potatoes, you can use any kind of potatoes, but just small ones. And you can buy small potatoes at the store. You can get like fingerling potatoes or whatever. Anyway, we're going to put these in the oven and we're going to let them cook for probably, since it's 350, they're small, but they'll probably take at least 45 minutes at 350. So we're going to get that in the oven. Okay, while we wait for our potatoes to cook, we're gonna make a butter sauce, or not sauce, but some butter to put over it, herb butter. So what you're gonna need is a cube or half a cup or whatever of butter. You could also use olive oil. You could also use, I don't know. I wouldn't do like margarine, but maybe, I guess. But anyway, butter is my recommendation. Salt and pepper are the main ingredients. And these three things together, you could just leave it there and call that good. But I'm going to add a few other things. So one of the things I love with my potatoes is onion. In my mashed potatoes, whatever, I put granulated onion, and that adds flavor. Not a lot of it, but a little bit. We're going to add some garlic. And I love garlic with potatoes. I like garlic with anything, but we'll put garlic in the potatoes, or in the butter. And then a couple spices or herbs that go well with the potatoes is rosemary and thyme. I like both of these. My husband's not a big fan of the thyme, but we're going to put a little bit in there. These go great. You could also do something more Italian with Italian seasoning, oregano, basil, something like that. Anyway, we're going to mix all these together, and I did this once and my camera did not record, so I already have it. It's already mixed together. But you're going to soften your butter, and then I use about close to a teaspoon of salt. Pepper, it depends on your preference. I used a little over 1/4 of a teaspoon. The onion and garlic, I used 3/4 of a teaspoon to a teaspoon, again, depending on your personal preference. And the rosemary and thyme, I only used about 1/4 of a teaspoon of thyme. Like I said, my husband doesn't like that one. And then a little bit of rosemary. And the rosemary, because it is bigger chunks, you're going to want to put it in your hand, break it into pieces, and then dump it in to get it to mix in so that your potatoes get it all. But I make this before my potato, like well before my potatoes are done, just so that it can sit and, you know, the flavors kind of combine and whatnot. Anyway, so this is ready for our potatoes when they're done cooking, and I will show you the next step when they're done. Alright, so these are all cooked, and obviously the bigger ones took a little longer, and they're definitely getting crispy. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do. We are going to smash, this is why they're called smashed potatoes. You don't want to make them like super smashed, but you want them to open up like that, and just kind of lay them out. You want them to all be fairly similar in thickness, though. Alright, so now they're smashed potatoes. So now what we're going to do is just put a little bit of this butter onto every one. Hopefully it'll soak in. Okay, so there's a generous amount of butter on all those, and we're going to put it back in the oven for about 5 minutes just to crisp everything up good. And you'll notice there's some left. You can use it for bread or whatever. All right, actually maybe we'll add, these big ones need extra, right? Okay, one last thing that is really good on potatoes, but also really good on vegetables of any kind, but we can use them with our potatoes today, is this really, really fast and easy vegetable dip. So you're going to use sour cream, a small tub of sour cream, the whole thing. And then a package of soup mix. This one I believe is beefy onion soup mix. I like regular onion soup mix better, but this works too. This is what I had upstairs, so we're going to add that. And then you're just going to mix that around. Throw it all over the counter, whatever. And there it is. And this is great with any kind of vegetable as well as with potatoes. Even any kind of potato too. They smash potatoes, mashed potatoes, baked potatoes, whatever. This is really good topping. So, all right, these are done cooking, and there you have baby smashed potatoes. Great way to use up little tiny potatoes, or if you really like little potatoes, you can get like the fingerlings or the little red potatoes. Anyway, these are great. And like I said, with this sour cream dip, carrots go great with that. I hope you enjoyed that recipe. Thank you for watching.